Start the insanity. Good, we're good there. Start the live video here. All right. We are all systems go here at the Run Experience, and I just want to welcome you guys to the live show. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. First of all, we're going to do a live giveaway. This show is sponsored by Sunbasket, some of our friends here in San Francisco who run a company where they deliver home-cooked ingredients, which you cook into really healthy meals, paleo, gluten-free, vegetarian, lean, clean eating. And we're going to be giving away a free meal, week's worth of meals. It's 6 meals, 3 different recipes. And
awesome.
To get that, along with 3 months of the training club, which we're also adding, it's like $140 worth of stuff, just click the link below in the description. We'll point to that, and then you can enter the drawing, which we'll be doing live here in about an hour. So, with no further ado, again, we just want to give a shout out. If you guys want to just let us know where you're signing in from, we will be happy to start answering your questions. Let's see. There's YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Here it is. There we go. So I'm going to just go to that. Cool. We should be able to see comments here.
Okay, sweet.
Guys, so let us know where you're signing in from. We would be more than happy to start answering your questions. And before we get into that, we're going to talk, and for our friends over on Instagram, we are also on YouTube and Facebook, and that's where we're going to be. You can also click the link to join. Hold on, let's see if I can paste this in there. That is the entry into the drawing, which we'll be doing later. And of course, we're answering questions all hour before we do the drawing. So first of all, I want to talk about hydration kits. So I know you use one. I have actually not been a hydration kit person. I have a Camelback. But we're looking at doing some reviews of hydration kits, especially since we're getting into some longer races here later in the fall. And let's make sure that we're still in camera here. And hydration kits are, the packs, they vary greatly, both in terms of the contour and fit, how much water they hold, how much other stuff they hold. One of our coaches, Kirk, actually does stuffs all of his camera gear in there as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he said he uses his hydration kit mostly because he has all the camera gear.
Yeah.
But I know you've used them before. What do you think about them?
Yeah, I've been using the Ultimate Direction ones, which Kirk actually told me about. If they're light, they're awesome, but I've used some older version Camelbacks before that were just so heavy even without the water. Mm-hmm. So I think it depends how far you're going, how long you're going. 50K, if there's a bunch of aid stations, we'll be okay without it, but anything.
Have you used the bottles where you hold? Because that's what I do. I ran 18 miles last weekend, and I used a handheld bottle because I didn't have any support on the trail.
With the strap.
Yeah,
yeah, I use that too.
Definitely feel like I can tell a difference in my left shoulder when I tried switching back and forth, and then I had my arm pocket on one side, and I'm all geared up, which is not my favorite way to run. But if you're going for that far on the trails,
I think it also matters which ones shift around on your body, some of the Camelbacks slide a lot, especially if you're in a tank top or something and you're going for longer than an hour. That's already going to be painful. So, yeah.
I think carrying stuff while you're running is a constant thing. I've also, you see people with gel packs and belt packs. That hasn't been my favorite so far because it bounces around. I get rubbing on my hips and stuff like that. In general, the shorts, I've been trying out. Actually, we can talk about this. I have so many pairs of shorts that I'm trying out. Actually, these are for you.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Gifts.
Yeah. So which one are these?
New Balance.
I was about to try these on, and I was like, these look really strange. I've worn a lot of running shorts, and then I was like, because they don't have a W on here. And it says medium, which I thought meant men, but it's actually medium and for M. So, you try these out, and you can review them.
Thank you.
But we've been trying out all kinds of shorts for a short review. I don't know if you guys saw our foam roller review that came out last week.
Yeah.
That seemed to be a pretty big hit, which we really enjoy doing because we're very big fans on myofascial release. But, and we got more and more people signing on from Instagram. Lee says, I can't run with anything in my hand. I don't know how you manage to handheld water bottles. Yeah, I mean, this is a new thing for me because I was a track and cross-country person, and we go out for multiple hour runs, long runs, and we wouldn't carry anything.
That's crazy.
And sometimes it'd be like a water, like a fountain somewhere, and we'd stop. But this is in Houston, sometimes in August, which would be like 100 and some degrees. So like, actually, now that I think about it, sometimes we'd have a water drop, which means that like somebody would go there and like plant like big jug of water, and we'd use that. But the whole idea of hydration, like, at that point in time, I wasn't running more than 18, 19 miles at a time.
Right.
And to run without support, like I did, I was out for probably 2.5 hours, and to do that completely without support and without water can be a real bear.
Oh, it's dicey, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially heat, like getting out there when it's cool, but then your turnaround, it's like noon.
Yeah.
It's just, you don't want to be dealing with that.
And I feel like as soon as I don't have water, I start thinking about how I don't have water.
Exactly. It's
and
like a panic attack.
Yeah, I start to have this kind of like, man, I think my mouth is dry. Oh, I don't think
Even if you were fine 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. So I feel like just having that as like almost kind of self-assurance. I actually didn't finish my water bottle in the 2.5 hour because I was like always saving a little bit in case I got thirsty, which is hilarious.
It's just the like calmness of knowing you have it.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that way, you can sometimes just have like a really small bottle. I was using, I think, an Ultimate Direction bottle, which I don't have on me right now. But we're anxious to kind of try out some new stuff. I'm talking to the guys at Nathan, which they have a multitude of different toys and accessories. They're not actually now. They are just getting into the fall, so we're going to start talking about running at night and lighting up like
reflective.
Yeah. Do you ever use a headlamp?
I do. Yeah. Getting used to it.
Yeah, headlamps. I actually prefer to have it in my hand.
Yeah.
Because like the thing on my head, I just feel like moves around and. So all these kind of, I consider them new toys because really, like, when I started running, 25 years ago, granted I was younger, but like also there wasn't as much like I'm going to run through the night or like extreme type of racing.
Yeah, now it's like all that. It's everything.
Yeah. So, all this to say that hydration pack is something we're looking into. I'd love to hear if you guys have any specific opinions. I'm asking all these questions, but I'm not checking your answers yet. Here we go.
Lights are great.
Let's see. What are people saying? Oh my goodness. Austin. Yay, running. How's it going, Austin? Rohith from India. What's up? Austin is saying I'm in Texas. Great. Awesome. We are actually going to be in Texas, in Austin.
I was just there last
week.
Week. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love Austin. We're going to be in Austin for the running event, which is more of a commercial event for like people who are running shoe stores, stuff like that. We're going to be there, I think, late in the fall. El Goodall from New Zealand. It's getting warmer there in New Zealand right now, isn't it? Austin's a vlogger too. Really? Austin, if you're a vlogger, throw in your channel into the chat. I would love to see what your vlogging channel looks like, and especially if it has any running in it. Kyle from Louisville, Kentucky. Welcome, Kyle. This is actually not our Kyle. It's a different Kyle. Also from Louisville. So, Kyle, I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and we actually have one of our coaches in Louisville. I'm going to pull this down so our little thing does not cut you off your chin. And so, yeah, I'm home in Louisville all the time. If you get a chance to go see Dr. Kyle Bowling, you can book an online session with us, or since you're in Louisville, you can go see him in person. He's off of Bardstown Road. So, feel free to hit us up at help at the run experience and we can point you in the right direction for that. Helena Machado, that sounds Brazilian.
Canadians.
Is from Vancouver, Canada. Awesome. We got another one from Adarsh from India. What's up? MR McKinnon from Canary Islands. We have literally people from all over the world. This is pretty crazy. Running Geek Girl. How's it going? I remember you from last week. From Arkansas, Kevin from Northampton, Massachusetts. Troy, what's up, Troy? Seen you here before. I'm from Florida. I'm glad you guys are doing better in Florida. Hopefully you're going to get missed by this next one. Flip belts are great. I have talked to Flip belt before. Those are the ones that are the expandable.
I have some of those.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, good?
They're cool, yeah. I mean, it's the same. It's like the
It's a belt thing.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can run without it shaking everywhere, then I feel like they're
right.
solid.
So I'm always tempted to cinch it really tight and then it starts rubbing.
Moving
So
around, yeah.
Yeah. Dale from Edmonton, it's snowing. How's it going on Instagram? And then we have GDK Mouse. Okay, questions. Okay, so please give us your questions. No problem. Kyle says you grew up in Louisville. It's great. I definitely should see Dr. Bowling. Would love some form pointers. Absolutely, Dr. Bowling is one of our top coaches, and I highly recommend seeing him, especially if you're in person. I went to DuPont Manual High School, by the way, in Louisville, Kentucky. So, Mark from New Mexico. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We have so many people signing on here. We would love just hammer out your questions. We talked about hydration kits and packs. I'd love to hear what you guys are using, what you'd like us to try, and then we can give you your feedback on what we think is going on. But the reason we're talking about hydration packs is because of our training right now.
Yeah, we're both getting ready for a 50K, trail 50K in November. You've never done, you've done a 50K, but not this one.
I have not done this 50K.
Yeah. So we're lucky we're doing it in November in Northern California because it's not going to be scalding hot, but it's going to be long and brutal and hilly.
Yeah. You did this last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't bring like a Camelback or anything with me. They had like a lot of aid stations there, but I had a handheld and it was like constantly refilling it and stuff.
Okay, so you felt that was a good thing, the handheld versus the Camelback? For
that one, for me, I do a lot of mountain running out here, but like putting it all together in my first ultra at the time, I was not going to add weight that I didn't have to add.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm undecided. I definitely want to try some hydration packs in my training runs. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be in Utah starting tonight, and it's freezing in Utah. So, I know, already? Right? Crazy. It's sub-freezing at night in Utah. And
I went to school there.
Did you?
Yeah,
that's right. Okay, yes, I'm flying into Salt Lake this evening, and I'm going to be doing my this week's training run in probably tomorrow morning. And so I was thinking about not only like the hydration packs, but cold weather running, which is something that I grew up doing, but I've gotten very lackadaisical on this element because I don't have to run in the supreme heat or the cold anymore.
Which is kind of a downfall, I've realized.
Totally. Let's see, we got some people talking here. How essential is it to be 180 cadence? I bounce between 160 and 170. Is that too low? Are there any exercises to help with faster cadence? And Helena says, my family's Portuguese. I have a Portuguese last name as well, Dos Santos. And so let's talk about cadence for a while. I love this question. We have another question from A-121. Is running barefoot on grass really good for health? Is that whole can of worms there? I'm going to wait on that one for a second. Let's first talk about cadence. So cadence is one of my favorite things to focus on. Mm-hmm. How do you? Is that something you
ever since working with you guys? Yeah, that's become a huge focal point, which changed a lot of things for me, but it wasn't before. Yeah, I didn't really think about it.
Cadence is something where people think that, oh, I'm not a fast runner, so that's why my cadence is slow, which couldn't be further from the truth. Not that there isn't any correlation. Like if you're running 12-minute miles, you're probably not going to have 180 cadence.
Right.
So when people adhere to this very specific 180 cadence, I think it's a little bit of a misnomer. Like we all have different strides, we have different landing patterns, we have different biomechanics, and we are all striving to be that Olympic runner that hits 180 like clockwork. But even some of the Olympic runners are hitting 185, 190, depending on who they are. So there's variance there, and there should be variance for you. But here's the thing. What's the problem with most people with cadence?
Just not picking your feet up.
Yeah, too slow.
Too slow, yeah.
Yeah, and so wherever you are, it is crucial that you start paying attention to it, because a lot of times, especially as you get slower, or you slow down throughout the course of a run, or maybe in the middle, whatever it is, you tend to really start to slow down your cadence, and then what happens to your form?
It just falls apart. Like the perfect example for me is the end of a marathon. So that marathon shuffle is like a perfect example of like you're not picking your feet up anymore, which is just taking away from everything else. And even just consciously like picking them up a little bit higher just can help you speed it up. Mm-hmm. Hamstrings engage, like your core, you can stay up straighter. Yep. A lot of things fall apart just based on how fast you're picking your feet up.
I'm going to show you guys my favorite trick. I'm going to grab my phone here for a second. Okay, so whether or not you run with music or with your phone, the thing that I never ran with music before, and the thing that got me to start was actually this app. And if you use Spotify's a music app. It's a subscription service. So I believe to use a mobile app, you do have to pay for it. But here is the crucial feature that I really like. So I'm going to just get into my Spotify here. Let's see if we can show this to you guys. Okay, so this is a hidden feature that they used to promote. And now it's kind of like hidden. But if you go to browse, and you'll see down here that there's all these genres and moods. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. And one of these is called, there's a workout one, and one of them is called Run, which I cannot find it. Hold on. here it is, running, right? So this one right here, if you tap on that, there's a special feature, which means that it'll create your running mix, or it has a whole bunch of other running mixes. You can't see my face here, can you?
Yeah, you can.
And if I tap that and I say start run,
Start running to detect tempo.
It'll detect your tempo, so it'll give you, like, so suppose I'm at 165, so if I'm pretending that I'm running here, this is really
Doesn't
slow
work
actually.
that way.
I don't know if it's going to work. It's going to be like, you're not running.
Oh yeah,
Stop trying to
because
figure
it's
this out.
2 feet.
Yeah, this is too slow. Sorry. But I can skip this and choose the tempo, which is what I like. I'm going to turn this down.
So the song will, the
So
tempo
the
will
song,
adjust.
so it'll choose songs. So I'm going to choose that at, say, for me it's usually 175, because usually 175 is pushing it just a little bit for me. And it'll change the song, and if I think it modifies the song a little bit.
Yeah, it must, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the beat goes exactly with my
That's
steps, which is such a great way to concentrate on your cadence, because as soon as you fall a little bit slow, you'll feel yourself kind of go out of sync with the beat, and then you have to catch the next beat, so you kind
Stay on
of
top
slip
of
in
it.
between, and you're like, okay, I need to, and it'll constantly remind you to be on pace. I'm a musician, so I have a lot of different apps for this type of stuff, but like, you can just use a straight tempo, like this is called tempo. Let me go up to 180 or 170. You could just run to this if you want. I mean, it's not as exciting as music, but it certainly works. This is called the Tempo app. I hope that you guys can see it over there, right? And it's a great, any mechanism like that is a great mechanism for training yourself to run with a quicker
Staying
tempo.
on top of it,
It
yeah.
is, don't shoot for 180. Just count your steps on 1 foot, right? So on 1 foot, it might be 75, right? For 1 minute. Or you can do it for 30 seconds and divide it. Whatever. You just need your steps per minute. And then if you just double that. If it's on your right foot, you double it. So now you have both feet. And it should be somewhere in the realm of like 150 to 180, right? That's probably where you guys are going to be.
Yeah.
And what you just want to do is set it for 5 BPM higher than where you are. All you just need is that little push. Don't go, we've had people who are like, hey, I've tried 180, now I feel like my form's off and like I'm scrubbing my feet against the ground. You don't want that.
Yeah, it's the same way you're not going to try to cut 3 minutes off your mile time in like 2
Perfect
weeks.
example. Perfect example, right? So you don't just go from a 9-minute mile to a 6-minute mile.
Yeah.
This is irrespective of your speed.
Mm-hmm.
This does not have to. You don't have to run
It's
any
a form-
faster.
It's a form.
It's a
issue,
form
yeah.
thing, yeah. And so what you'll find is you'll have to hurry. I mean, your foot pick up off the ground. You can't spend as long on the ground if you're going to have a higher cadence. And
Or
it'll
maybe you're not
constantly push
striding
you.
as far either.
True.
That's another thing.
Very
like
true.
Everyone,
Overstriding.
overstriding.
Yep.
Like a perfect example, if you're trying to run like a quick 400 meters or something, and you're taking these huge steps, you get gassed way faster
Yep.
than if you pull your feet in a little bit more.
Totally.
Yeah.
So the magical thing about cadence is that it starts to fix so many other problems. The way you land, like how much overstriding you're doing. That's my problem actually, is that I still land a little farther in front of my center of gravity than I should.
Yeah.
Um,
Even injuries, like
your foot
your
pickup.
impact, you're
Mhm.
spending less time like banging into the ground. The quick pickup just takes a little bit less on your joints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just not landing as heavily.
Right.
Right. This is something that's very easy to see. Like sometimes when you see like not figure skaters, but just somebody on ice skates, right? You can see people who are really large, heavy, like big, strong individuals who can be really light on their skates, and you can kind of tell they seem like they're kind of just gliding on the ice.
Right.
Whereas somebody who it might be a lot smaller might feel and it's the same thing with running. It's just a little bit harder to see because we're not on ice.
Right.
So cadence is a great way of focusing on that. And we have videos on YouTube. We have tons of stuff in our programs in the training club, all about this, because this is one of the things we focus on as far as form.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. You've probably done some videos we talked about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Nate has some really good ones he's done. Like some of the first ones I ever saw were about cadence.
Yeah, totally. All right, next question. I think we were talking about something else, cold weather running, and then we got bumped on this, but we'll go back to it. Hey, from Romania. Oh my gosh, so many questions here. Lisa, what's up from Michigan? Shout out. There was a barefoot running question on
in
Instagram
grass.
too. What's up with the goo stuff they hand out during races? I've never tried it. Is it the same as Gatorade gummies? You want to take that one real quick?
Yeah, it's similar purpose, like just fueling you without it being like heavy food or something like that. There's electrolytes in both of those, right?
Yep.
there's sugar probably in both of those. I would say goo.
Are you talking about the goo gels? Because they also have goo blocks.
They have the blocks too. Yeah. What it is made of is probably the same.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, these are essentially the same thing as like gummy bears. They're just a slightly different, and the only addition is sometimes they'll have ones that have more electrolytes, so more salt.
A little more salt. Yeah,
in them.
exactly. But if you need a way to fuel and you can handle the goo, the texture, go for it. Yeah, it's great. A lot of people, like, if they have a dry mouth or they're not carrying water with them, won't go that route. But I use gels and stuff during my races for sure. Yeah,
gels are definitely like a quicker energy burn. It'll hit your system faster. One of the things I've been experimenting with, which I did actually last weekend, which a great success. Actually, my last 2 runs was UCAN Nutrition.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah. So UCAN Nutrition has this new type, they call it a super starch, which is just a trademark term that they've created. And it has to do with the way that they cook down, their fuel source is, I believe it's like sweet potatoes.
Okay.
And the way they cook the starch actually has a lower glycemic response. So we should turn back to our friends here. This is our Instagram cameras over here. So a lower glycemic response basically means your blood sugar is not climbing fast,
spiking,
which definitely is happening when you take in a gel.
Right.
One of the other things you'll find if you test your blood sugar when you're working out is that when you're working out, your body is dumping glycogen into your system. So if you ever test like I've tested myself at the end of a CrossFit workout, and my blood sugar, I haven't eaten anything, but my blood sugar is really high.
Right.
So your blood sugar is going to go high because your body is demanding that fuel source.
So you don't need that immediate sugar spike necessarily.
And so one of the things I liked about UCAN Nutrition is that you have a little bit more sustained. You're definitely full for a lot longer, a little bit more sustained and even energy is what my experience is, and that is how they promote themselves. So my experience on that is pretty good. Try it. Everybody's body is different. It's not necessarily going to work for you, so you should try it in your training runs. I will say you sacrifice a little bit in the taste department when you're not eating candy. You know, like, I mean, the gels can taste awesome.
Candy. Yeah, exactly.
It is the Cliff Block shots. I think Scratch Labs sent me some of those, and I ate them on like a Thursday night because they were in my house. I try not to keep sugar in my house. Anyhow, so try them out. And the reason they're handing out goo shots or Gatorade shots, whatever it is because they're the sponsor of the race.
And they're big companies that can dump them off at the race.
And Goo is a local brand. We've talked to them. They're here in the Bay Area. They're actually not a very large company. They have kind of an amazing presence in the running community, and they create really good stuff. They actually have these waffles now that are pretty interesting. Like they've made these kind of Dutch waffles that have, instead of caramel in the middle, they have the kind of goo gel. Pretty good, just kind of different type of food. If you're eating this stuff, the problem with the goos and the gels and stuff like that, I find is if you're in a 4-hour race, how long can you fuel yourself with eating gels?
That's the thing. That's like a max for me would be a marathon, but like I'm not going to go for that during an ultra or something like that.
Yeah.
You're going to.
At some point I need something that vaguely looks like real food.
Yeah, exactly.
And I find that the longer the race, the more I crave salt.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Well, there's a double dipsy race out here that they do like potatoes with salt on them. You know, just like stuff that would actually go in pretty easy, but you know, you're not going to have that every single race, but that's what you want.
Yep. Totally great. So, so that's on gels. Let's see the next question. Austin Crane. Every time I do one of the entry things, it doesn't count. I download the app and visit the website.
Oh, on Gleam?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Honestly, I don't have time. We can't fix it right now, but Austin, I'll take that into consideration next time. If you have any of your entries in there, you're entered to win, so don't worry. Guys, what he's talking about is if you click the link below, and if on Instagram there is something in the comments where I posted a link, this is an entry. We are giving away a Sunbasket, which is actually, you know, let's talk about Sunbasket for a moment before we move on. Let's see. If I go like this, and then I go like this. All right, this is Sunbasket. If you guys have not found Sunbasket before, welcome to a world of amazing food. I tried this out. I was actually one of their first users because I happen to know some of the founders here in San Francisco. If you've heard of Blue Apron, Sunbasket is very similar to Blue Apron, but they have much like healthier options, and sometimes the cooking times are a lot shorter. That's why I've tried both of them. I love Sunbasket. They have different things like, if I can find it here, like paleo options, if you can see. Just really great food, as you can see. I mean, it literally does look like this. If you go to my Instagram page / CraigMD. That's my personal Instagram page. You'll see that I post sometimes about my meals from Sunbasket because they're so good looking. I'm tempted to take photos. But I've met the team there. I've met Chef Justine, and they really, really work hard to bring like quality ingredients, even things like spending time on the box and the packaging you get it so it's all recyclable and compostable. Really trying to do something great for people no matter where you are in the US. So I should mention that the Sunbasket is going to be sent to you if it's available, which is in the continental US. If it's not available and you happen to win this prize, don't worry, we'll take care of you and give you more TRE training. So we're going to be giving away one Sunbasket, which is 3 different recipes. Each recipe is for 2 different people, awesome. And you get that plus 3 months of our training club. It's like $140 worth of stuff, and we will send it to you. All you got to do is click the link below, and you'll see a link that lets you enter the drawing, which we're going to be doing in about 34 minutes. Cool? All right, back to the regularly scheduled questions. All right, let's see our friends on Facebook. What have you been saying? Let's see. Hi from England. Hey, Debbie. How's it going? What's the best jacket to wear on a cold, rainy day? Is waterproof best, or do you end up too hot and sweaty?
I
have thoughts, but go ahead.
Yeah. My thing, I've been running in the rain. Actually, it's been raining randomly here. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you're okay running in the rain, I'm just okay to get wet. Like, I'm okay with it, and I feel like if I'm sweating already, I'd wear what I'm normally going to wear, maybe an extra layer or something. Waterproof is good if you're going to be out there for like a long time to the point where you're maybe getting cold or just your body temperature is getting messed with. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to wear when it's raining outside is wool. Shockingly.
Okay.
Yeah. Wool, getting a base layer of wool, which is you can get from any number of places. Lots of brands carry wool. If you get quality wool, you have to watch a little bit when you wash it because it can kind of wear down, and you have to make sure you don't put it in the dryer. So it's a little bit more upkeep, but it's an amazing fabric because wool is one of these things where when it gets wet, it doesn't actually lose its heat retaining properties. So if I'm wearing a wool layer, sometimes it depends. If raining for me has everything to do with temperature. If it's cold and it's raining, I'll take a wool layer and I'll do the waterproof layer, or at least water resistant.
Because that's miserable.
Yeah.
And you get cold so much faster.
Totally.
But so many running socks have wool now.
Yep.
Too, which is why. Yeah. Sweating and everything like that.
And you can get full. I have long sleeve wool layers. I have short sleeve wool layers. I think it's some of my favorite stuff to run in. I don't work out in it all the time just because I don't have that much of it. But it's a great material to think about. If you're asking about waterproof versus is water. So the really nice running jackets that are waterproof should also have the ability to breathe. Yeah. You don't want to wear a poncho, you'll die.
You'll die.
Yeah.
You'll die in 5 seconds. Yeah. Yeah. Also, a thing to consider is your shoes. So if you're going out in just like your normal running footwear and socks and stuff, and it's pouring rain, that's like blisters coming out of everywhere. So just being aware of that. I guess the wool socks would help in that scenario, but if you're getting soaked for 3 hours, like I've gotten some gnarly blisters from those runs.
My feet are so gnarled at this point, I just don't get blisters anymore. Either that or I don't even notice them. I don't know what it is. So I haven't thought about them in a while, but that is true. Blisters can be the ending sound of your workout. Let's see. Lisa, she has 3 flip belts. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Nice. Knuckle lights are great.
I've never even heard of that.
I have not heard of those. Awesome. Okay, cool. So that's... I don't know if this is showing us all of our...
That's Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, our friends on Facebook. Let's see if it... Okay. Let's see. S. Cavarhal. Hello from California. Just down this road.
Nice.
Fran says, oh gosh, so many. Joey McMillan, what's up? My buddy Joey is a childhood friend of mine, and he is running a 50K in December. Oh, yeah, he said it. So he's interested in hydration packs and cold weather running. Going to do a lot of running this winter. Joey, I think it's amazing. I think you should absolutely do our marathon program and hopefully do the 30-day challenge beforehand. You can email me, and of course you know how to join. But you should absolutely do that as your prep. I think you will not go wrong. All right, so what is this? Okay. Yeah. Fran says, I'm from living in Provo, Utah.
Cool.
And it's a little chilly willy in the morning. Yes, it's true. My B-day's tomorrow, and I turn 15. Mercy, happy 15th birthday.
Happy 15th.
Amazing. I hope you're running birthday morning runs are the best way to start your year. Let's see. Spotify useful. Okay, so great. Amanda says that Spotify information is very useful. If you weren't here, we just gave a demonstration of the running app.
They don't
Spotify.
highlight that, which is so weird.
They don't. They used to, and that's why I keep telling people about it. Yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
It's a great feature. All right, let's see what else we got. Hey, from Fort Brennan, GA, Army Strong.
Nice.
Appreciate that. Appreciate your service. Let's see, another bonus for the Spotify.
Oh, Sunbasket website.
Oh yeah, totally. Okay, I'm not getting a whole lot of running questions here. There was one about barefoot running and some best advice from you for the first half. We see you. Don't worry. We see you. One frame pause button. All right. So first, let's tackle the barefoot running question which you got. Is it healthy to be running barefoot?
I would say yes. We have talked about this not as much as we talk about other things, but I haven't done a ton of barefoot running, but I know that there's a lot of value to it. A lot of times in our shoes, we just get numb to what's going on, or if they're really cushioned, we don't really know how we're landing. So that's a good way to feel are your arches collapsing, where you're taking the impact. That's going to be a quick way to find out where you're hurting and how fast. Do you do it a lot?
I've done a ton of barefoot running.
Yeah.
There was a point in time, which I'll show you. I used to walk out my house. I thought it was so cool. I'd wear a pair of shorts like this, nice short shorts, and that's it. I wouldn't take keys. I wouldn't take a watch. I wouldn't take a shirt. I wouldn't take shoes or socks or anything. I'd be like, I'm going running like a native. It really wasn't that cool, but the great part is I lived near a lake, and so I would go running, and then I would jump in the lake and go swimming for a little bit, and
awesome.
Jump out and keep running, and I loved it. This is circa 2003, and so this is a time period where there wasn't a whole lot of. Let's go back to our main thing here. There we go. There wasn't a whole lot of barefoot running in kind of the vernacular of running lore, and I would say that I learned the limits of myself personally. Now, everybody has different limits running, and therefore there are people who have the ability to go run marathons barefoot.
Yeah.
We were in the San Francisco Marathon offices last week, Nate and I.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a picture of this guy who was a barefoot runner up on the wall, and he had been a sponsored athlete for them one year, and he had done a 50K, I believe, barefoot.
Oh, my God.
And they said that he came in so far behind the cutoff time, and he was hobbled. His feet were completely
There's no way.
because your feet. I don't care what kind of callus you have on it.
They're still feet.
They're still it's skin, and there's bone under there, and there's nerves under there, and as much as we'd like to say we can harden ourselves against the elements, running on concrete for 30 plus miles is really going to beat you up. Now that's an extreme, but it just goes to show that even people who run tons barefoot, they have limits. And there are great things about barefoot running, and the things that are healthy about it are that you get a lot of this proprioception that we don't normally get. And proprioception is, when I touch my hand, there's part of my hand that can feel where it's being touched, right? Now, if I have a glove on, that feeling is a little bit less, and if I have a huge shoe on, or a box in between, I can't feel it as much. And the more shoe you have, the less proprioception you get. And the problem with that is that there's a lot of learning that your foot can get about which parts it should land on. And the more you run barefoot in the grass or even on the asphalt, the quicker you get the feedback. The problem is that sometimes that feedback comes in the form of an injury.
Yeah.
It can come in the form of a cut. It can come in the form of a scrape or just actually a stress fracture or something like that. So too much feedback before you're used to it or where you're not adjusting is a bad thing. My advice is if you're curious about barefoot running, take off your shoes in the middle of a soccer field where it's taken care of, or a golf course when they're not golfing and don't get mad at you, and go for strides. Do 4 by 100 meter strides where you're increasing in pace over the course of the 100 meters. Come back, then put your shoes back on, and then as soon as you put your shoes back on, notice the difference. Because as soon as you put your shoes back on, you'll still be in that kind of feeling of barefoot even though you can't feel the ground anymore, and you'll notice that your stride will have changed.
Yeah.
And that is the proprioception giving your body that feedback. So lots of benefits from barefoot running. I don't promote it as a long, like training all your mileage in it, or even necessarily a full run in it.
Oh yeah.
depending
It's a
on who
training
you are.
tool.
It's
like,
a training
I would
tool.
say
That's exactly
just
right.
use it. Like learn about how you run from it, but don't switch to barefoot running.
Yeah.
For the rest of your
Yeah,
runs.
and there's another thing where your heel cord, which is your Achilles and soleus, that area at the very lower part of your shin, is used to being on an angle for most of us because we've grown up with shoes that have a heel drop. And so because of that, if your heel cord's a little short like mine is, and most probably yours is, and that drop onto the ground plus the pushing off of your toes, man, that is extreme.
Yeah.
And it's a huge change. You don't want to do it right away. So if that's the case, you're going to see that through the, you might get plantar fasciitis, you might get an Achilles injury or sore, like calf muscle. It might even go up to your hamstring or your glute. That is all because you've dropped your foot an inch and now you're kind of putting it in a stress position over and over again. So be very careful. Ease your way into it. First start with shoes that are a little bit less, then you can eventually go to barefoot shoes and you can try barefoot. There's no reason to jump into it. And again, use it like a tool.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Yeah, I bet you I kicked up some dust with people start talking about barefoot running. They get all kinds of antsy about it. Let's see. We got the edge of breakup. Is it okay to alternate between 0 drop and 4 6 to 6 millimeter drop shoes? I'm trying to get over my minor plantar fascia on my left heel. Okay, very similar. So the edge of breakup, it's okay to alternate between them. If you are facing plantar fasciitis, you just think about that. I'm using my hand as my foot, but that's the plantar fascia is these tendons right in here, and that musculature is being stressed when you're running because I'm pushing off with my toes and that part is being put under tension and stimulus. So if you are in that position, oftentimes what can help alleviate it is something like a heel cup or like a higher drop. I wouldn't really promote using barefoot shoes when you're kind of recovering from that injury. Rolling out your foot, walking around barefoot in your house, that's a good way of a lower stress way of having some time in that position. I'm always barefoot in my house. I stand barefoot all day, and I think it's a healthy thing to have our feet on the ground as much as possible. You can go for a walk barefoot, but I think running is pretty intense when you have plantar fasciitis, especially in a 0 drop shoe.
Definitely.
And Adam Worth says, I've never gone out full 0 drop, but the Hokas have a nice 5 millimeter drop, which has really worked for me. Perfect. And this is your body is different. Everybody comes to it very differently. Different flexibility.
Yeah, I'm in Hokas too, and I've tried other shoes and I mix them in, but I always go back to those two. I dealt with a lot of plantar fasciitis myself, and those totally changed the game for me.
Yeah. What does Tiana say?
When I run in my Asics a bit into it, my toes start going numb. Do you guys have ideas why? Maybe it's the way they're laced. It's weird. Probably lacing, yeah.
Lacing is definitely one way to go about it. There's tons of ways of lacing. I've been wanting to do a lacing video actually.
Well, yeah, because we've been trying some shoes that the laces are very short.
Yep.
In a lot of different ones, which is interesting because a lot of people are doing heel locks and stuff now where you lace them specifically.
Should we do a heel lock demo?
Yeah, probably.
Blew people's mind last time I showed it to them. Hold on.
But to answer your question about things going numb, that's probably the way the shoe is on your foot.
All right, guys, we're going to do a heel lock demo. First, I can teach you a number of things about tying your shoelaces. First, let's do, how about you hold the shoe?
Okay.
And I will demo. Okay. So, first of all, is this right? Okay, cool. So, first of all, when you're tying your shoes, right, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And the right way is to do what's called a square knot with loops. That's the traditional way of doing it. So, what I did here is I have my shoelaces untied, and I went left over right. You can do it either way, left over right. I'm going to go left over right. Now, you got to remember you went left over right because the next time when I create this loop, I want to go right over left. You have to switch. And the reason is this. If I go right over left again, or left over right again, so I went left over right twice, this is what will happen. You'll see that it's oriented north-south. And it's just a weak knot. I mean, it's actually no stronger than just doing it once. So this is the type of thing that'll fall loose and come untied very easily. But if I go the other direction, and I go right over left, because I start out with left over right, now you have what's called a square knot, and you'll see that it orients this way, and it's crossways. That's the proper way to tie a bowed shoelace. Now, many of us are entering races where we are in a trail race, we're going through water, whatever it is, and we want to make sure that we tie our shoelaces really tight at the start so we don't have to untie them. So what do people do? Usually, they will make the same mistake. They'll tie it once and then be like, oh, I should just double that up and I'm going to tie it again, right? And they put more. It is a way to do it, and if you do it that way, you want to keep alternating directions, but you're really just adding the same thing over on top of itself. It's not nearly as strong, but I'll give you another option. So I've tied it once. I'm gonna start all again. I'm gonna go left over right. All right. Then I'm gonna take the 2 bunny loops, just like you're a kid learning to tie their shoelaces, right? 2 bunny loops, if you can see that. And I went left over right, so I'm gonna go right over left. But instead of doing left over right, I'm gonna tuck it through that loop, and then I'm gonna tuck it through again. So now I've gone through right over left twice in the same loop. And if you'll see, it looks almost exactly the same. Now, I've not done this pretty imperfectly, but it looks almost exactly the same as a regular knot, right? But that is way, 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 way stronger than a double knot. So you can pull that really tight. That is not going to come loose by just being kicked around. And at the same time, if I do want to untie it, I can pull on those and it comes untied. Way better than a double knot. And that is how you tie your shoelaces properly. There are lots of other ways of doing it, but I had a hobby of not tying at one point and realized that I was tying my shoelaces wrong. Okay, now on the lacing, there are a lot of ways to lace. We have them cross-laced here. This is probably the most common type of lacing. There are a number of other ways you can lace your shoe to alleviate pressure in different areas. I'm not going to go into that because it requires lacing your shoes, but I'm going to show you what a heel lock is. You want to hold that again? A heel lock, if you'll notice these little eyelets on the outside of the shoe, you always notice that there's always a second eyelet here that's a little bit off the main line, right? That is the heel lock eyelet. Now, in this particular shoe, I don't have it heel locked. I've gone through all the laces and I've just tied it normally or laced it normally. But if you want a heel lock, you just undo this last loop, all right? And instead of crossing over, right, like you normally would, I'm going to stay on the same side and I'm going to create a little loop here on the outside of the shoe. Okay, so now I have a loop on this side of the shoe, right, by going through the same side. I'm going to do the same thing on the inside. I'm going to go here. Okay, so now I have these 2 little loops, and if you can see how they're created on that last little loop, I think you guys can see that here, okay? Now I have these 2 little loops, I pull them almost tight, and now I cross over again, but instead of going through the loops in the shoe, I go through the loop that I created in the lace. That is called a heel lock. I highly, highly encourage you to try this out. It's not necessarily going to be something that you want to keep. Different shoes perform differently with them. But what it does is this heel cup right here, this will tighten. So if you ever have, like, for me, what happens is if I have a shoe like a Hoka that has a lot of cushion, sometimes I'll land in the shoe and the heel cup will start deforming, and I'll see in my foot it'll look like this. It'll start kind of just deforming like that, and every time I land, I see the shoe deforming, and that's not what I want. I want the shoe to hug me. So the heel lock is a great way, and once you're like this is what it looks like on that side, same on both sides. And once you do this, you just tie it up normally like I taught you before. And this is a way of really adjusting your shoelaces so that it's a tighter fit around your ankle. Now, if you are having, she said there was something about her toes, right?
It's going numb.
Yeah. If you have your toes going numb, it might be that you have like these shoes have, these are I wore these this morning. This is the Ultra 1, version 3. And so Ultras have a very wide toe box. So it might be the case that you have a wider foot and the Asics are not providing enough room for you. What I would highly suggest is if you're having a problem with a particular type of shoe, give Running Warehouse a call. We have a partnership with them. They're excellent. They train. We actually went through their training, and they will look up the specific shoe on their site. They review all the shoes on their site, and they'll tell you, look, hey, how wide is your foot? They'll give you some things to test and tell you, is this the right shoe for you or not? It may be the shoe. It may be how you're lacing it. There's always variance based on lacing, but then there's even more variance based on the type of shoe you get. So
a lot of time they say, like, keep it snug on the middle of the foot, but everything else can be like as wide as you want. Like a really wide toe box, even if you don't have a totally wide foot, is fine. And with the heel lock, it keeps it from sliding. It's kind of like a little brake system for the shoe. Like, you know, depending on the other setup with your socks and stuff, like I just slide a lot in my shoes, and that just totally keeps it locked in place.
Yeah, the heel lock is an amazing tool. We will do a full video on lacing and tying your shoes because as much as we think that we know how we do things, honestly, you thought you knew how to run too, and then you learned that there's a lot more to it, right? So exactly. That is heel locking and lace tying. So we have 15 more minutes. Let's do a couple more questions. I don't know if we missed any on Instagram, but best advice for a half marathon. Let's see. Kyle says, what is the best approach for tempo runs? What is your philosophy on them?
I'll
crack at it?
go from my personal experience. The best way to organize a tempo run for me has been putting your race pace or wherever you're aiming for in the middle of the run. So if it's a long one, you can do 3 or 4 miles warm up, like get into it, but still you're at a talking pace. Use the middle, maybe 5 miles or something, to just keep on a race pace the whole time. When you're starting to get fatigued, but you're not totally smoked, and then using the last bit to you can slow it down again as a cool down. As far as like getting to your race pace and sticking with it, that's probably the best approach I've had. Yeah.
One of my former track mates at Rice, Steve Magnus, if you guys have heard of him, he is kind of coach to the stars. He's one of probably the top track cross country coaches in the nation right now, and is coaching a lot of the Olympic hopefuls, and also coaches the University of Houston. And so he has a new book out, and I was just on his Facebook page the other day, and he was talking about 10K tempo runs, where basically he likes it for cross country, where you go 10K pace and then you ease off, and this is more at the kind of halfway between interval and tempo running, but you ease off into a still a pretty decent effort, but not race pace, and so you're basically on tension the whole time. And you have to be focused the entire run. So you might do a 60-minute or 45-minute run where you're going alternating between 10K pace and
on each mile.
I don't remember how. I'd have to go back and look at what the mileage was. I'm sure it was time, not mileage.
Time.
Yeah. But tempo runs are a great way to get you both physiologically adapted to your race pace and psychologically adapted. I think a lot of times people forget that in the end you end up battling your mind as much as your body.
That's especially in a race scenario. Like your body is just feeling so many other things, but like if you can really challenge your mind beforehand and be focused on pushing through when you don't necessarily want to, I think that's the whole point of the tempo run.
Yeah. And it's another way of just kind of like, we always talk about gears when you're running. Like you need multiple gears. You need a slow long run gear. You need an easy run gear. You need a tempo run gear. You need a faster interval gear. And then you have choices as opposed to getting locked into one.
Yeah, like my biggest downfall used to be I would always just go by feeling. Like I feel pretty good today, so I'll go faster today. Or like, I feel like I'm really flying, but I look at the time and it's not what I thought it was. So if you're going off feeling, like that's not a safe bet, because race day you never know what you're going to get. So always a good reason to practice beforehand.
Boy, we've been missing a bunch of our friends on Facebook. Let's see. Michelle Fawcett, I recognize your name, Michelle. How's it going? Are Hokas good for long runs or short runs? Have not tried them, but have been hearing a lot about them.
I love them for long runs. For me, I'm trying to do not Hokas for shorter. So like anything around 6 or around there. For me, I'll do not Hokas, but above that, and especially on the trails, like Hokas really, they're like my go-to.
Yeah. I don't actually have any Hoka trail shoes, so I've not tried them on the trails. I do like them for like longer distance stuff. I was a Hoka naysayer too, because as somebody who started in the barefoot type of thing, 15 years ago. It's the opposite. I was such a naysayer, and now I realize, a quiver of shoes, not only is it good for you in terms of the variance that you're running, but like it's no more expensive than it is buying the shoes one at a time and wearing them out. So you should absolutely have 2 to 3 pairs of shoes in your running quiver.
Yeah.
They're tools. Use them as tools. Use them for different runs. And, you're just basically, you're putting all your investment into shoes up front, and then they wear out a lot slower.
Totally.
Just, keep track of your mileage. Just keep track of... What I like about wearing another pair of shoes is that when you cycle a new pair of shoes in, you're like, oh, this is what a new pair of shoes feels like. Oh, my other pair is probably really flat. Maybe I should replace those. You kind of start to feel, otherwise you don't know what is a flat shoe.
Nothing's telling you otherwise.
Yeah. Let's see. What else we have going on? Hey, from the Bluegrass. All right. I'm guessing he means Kentucky. Let's see what's happening on YouTube. The heel lock makes sense. I'm going to have to try it on my next run. Fantastic. Yeah. Just keep in mind, I don't heel lock every pair of shoes. It just depends. I usually use it it's a tool. So learning how to tie your shoes properly is part of being a runner. Helena says, what can I do to retrain myself to not heel strike when I run?
We did a really good video on this, or Nate did, on, like we were talking about before, the gears of running. So changing your stride length based on downhill, flat, or uphill. And for me, that's really when the heel strike thing started to make sense. A lot of times you're reaching out so far that your heel is the only thing that's going to be able to catch you. And that's why a lot of people run into is they're not really addressing, like, are my feet right under my hips? Or, am I just going for the longest stride I can because I think it'll make me faster? That's where a lot of that heel strike comes from. We always talk about just not pose running necessarily, but picking your feet up in a space that can be sustained for a longer time. So, like, really just pulling your heel up right against your inner thigh. It engages the hamstrings, the glutes, and everything, and you're able to just bring everything in a little bit more manageable, and you can get a better posture that way as well.
Yeah. Again, we talked about this in the beginning, but cadence is like there's a question about cadence, and cadence is a great way of fixing a lot of these problems, because if somebody says, hey, stop heel striking, then you're kind of like, okay, I need to like kind of move my foot this different way, and it can get a little artificial and unnatural for your personal biomechanics. And so cadence is a great way. Just bump your cadence up a little bit higher than it is normally. Again, you can use a Spotify app, you can use a metronome, count your cadence, set it at 5 more than you normally have, and then try that out, and you will find that your stride has to shorten just a little bit.
Naturally.
Your feet pick up naturally.
Yeah.
So I think that is a great way of addressing that heel striking problem. Or just notice that some people heel strike more than others. It is not necessarily true that because you're heel striking that it is
a bad thing.
Yeah. People have different biomechanics, and you see great runners that have a little bit of a heel strike.
Totally. And like we were saying, so even like on a downhill, like I'll heel strike on a downhill just because I have more give on my stride there. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just being aware that there are different places to use different ways to hit the ground. Basically.
Awesome. So is there a problem if you stay too warm when it's colder weather? And question 2, hydration, keeping too much water on the back or less water on the front bottles? Okay, so I guess the question is about heat and hydration. When it's cold weather, I think the problem I've had before is I get really sweaty underneath, and then I want to take off my clothes, and then I get really cold.
Yeah.
One of the beauties of wearing wool is that even though I'm sweating, it still keeps me warm inside, so even if it's wet. Getting breathable materials, again, like they always say about everything dressed in layers. Mm-hmm. I like to keep something around if it's really cold, my head is a really crucial element. You can get those little like head socks type of thing. Those are great.
Gloves too, like your extremities, like that's kind of the first thing to affect you if you're just freezing on your hands the whole time. So head and hands for sure.
Yep.
Layers. You're going to be sweating, so addressing that, is it really windy, in which case the sweat is just going to be freezing.
Yeah. And for temperatures as low as 40 or so, sometimes I'll wear a vest, just keeping a vest and gloves, and sometimes I'll have my forearms. You can also do things like sleeves. Sleeves, right?
Yeah. Just sleeves, like just adding something else on the arm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those are easily, you can pull them off and then throw them in your camelback, in your shorts, whatever it is.
Right.
Keeping too much water on the back or less water on the front bottles. I think what you're asking is, how much water should you be carrying on you, etc. I think the main thing is you don't want to feel like you don't have water.
Right.
As much water, it's hard to take in too much water when you're running even in cold weather because you're still sweating.
Yeah.
So that's usually not a problem. You do want to take in electrolytes if you're running for more than, say, 90 minutes or so.
Yeah, 2 liters is a lot. Like, as far as carrying with you, if you're going on a super long run, you're never going to hit water along the run. Yeah, I would probably recommend that. And when I talk about long, like at least running 2 hours, probably more than that. As far as distributing it, like I know Ultimate Direction, they have different, you can like put bottles in the front or the back. I think that's a personal preference thing, where you feel like you can distribute it.
And see where, like when you put it, like is anything rubbing, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Adam, Dyson1000 on Instagram says, what is good food to eat during a marathon? Now, if you're talking about real food, like actual, like, you know, sandwiches, that sort of thing, this is one of those things where there isn't good and bad. There is stuff that works for you, and everybody has different GI tracts and different ability to process stuff. What I will say is that eating something during a marathon, unless you are pulling in like a 2 hour and 30-minute marathon and you are blazing through there, and maybe you can survive on like a gel, as soon as you start hitting the 3 hour mark, you know, you are going to feel like you're really affected by the fact that you do or do not have food.
Right.
So I think the important thing is training in your long runs.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you do, practice it beforehand. Like we hear about this all the time, is like you're eating one way, you're training one way, and then it comes to race day and you have this whole plan worked out with stuff you've never put in your mouth before, which is just like not the way to go. We talked about gels and stuff earlier. Like that's an easy way to go, especially like for me, I get tired and I don't want to think about fueling anymore. So that's an easy way to just like rip off the pack and just go for it. But I guess know what your aid stations are going to have beforehand, and again, how much time you're thinking you're going to take for this thing.
Yeah. And guys, again, we're going to the end of the hour. If you want to enter our contest, there's a link below. If you're on Instagram, I put it in the comments, but there's a link below. We're going to be giving away a free Sunbasket, which is 6 meals delivered to your door anywhere in the U.S. And we're adding to that 3 months of our training club. If you guys are not aware of our training club, it is a broad sweep of all of our training programs. You get access to it on a monthly basis, 3-month basis, 6-month basis, whatever you want. And we have coaching support, we have forums, we have nutrition challenges, we have programs for the half marathon, we have programs for beginner runners, for foundation to build up into a half marathon or a full marathon. We have a strength program, we have injury prevention, we have everything in there. We have worked for years to build this up. It's available on a mobile app, it's available on your website, any computer or laptop or iPad. You just watch the videos every day and you can jump into any program you want, and it is an amazing value. We obviously stand very strongly behind it because nobody else on the internet that we know of in the known internet has done what we have done here and created these training programs. So we highly, highly recommend that you check it out. You get 3 months for free if you're to win this contest, and we're about to do the drawing in about 2 minutes. So hit the link below, and you'll see these different links you can do to enter into that contest for the Sunbasket and the Training Club membership.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. We are wrapping up here. Let's see if we have one. Oh boy. So Laddie Buck 2 says, I'm going to lose my big toenail left from last Sunday's run, otherwise fun marathon. Comment on shoe selection and toenail preservation. Oh, this is a tough one. So look, it doesn't take much over the course of a marathon to just the lightest brush of your toenail is eventually going to turn it into a bruise under there, and it'll it'll otherwise fall off. I'm in the process of losing. There's one right there.
I've never lost one, even in dance. I've never lost one. But
so some my nails are like weak soldiers. They just the first sign of trouble, they just give up and fly off. And so some people are not like that. But I would say, look at your shoes, the toe box, that sort of thing, and don't rip them off unnecessarily. Keep your toenails on, and then keep it dry and covered and everything, because you don't want you can get fungus and get all kinds of other things in there once the toenail root is exposed. All right, we have 1 minute remaining. I'm going to pick the winner. You ready for this? Let's see. Here it is, Sunbasket giveaway. We have 1 minute left on our Instagram. I wanted to make sure that the internet is so slow because we are streaming to 3 different channels here. Draw winners. All right, here it goes, guys. The winner is... a long time to draw one winner. All right, Marion Solomon. Marion Solomon, you are the winner of both a Sunbasket and sorry, you were in Spain. But Sunbasket doesn't offer it in Spain. But what we will do is give you 6 months of the training club, and we will be emailing you 6 months worth $120. I hope you really dig in there, and we'll give the Sunbasket away to somebody tomorrow, next week, because we always have that ability. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for joining us. This is one of my favorite parts of the week. We'll say about our Instagram people. And for you guys on YouTube and on Facebook, really appreciate you joining us. Next week, I'll be back, and you can join as well. But Nate will be back from Japan, which I'm sure will be full of stories.
Oh, yeah.
And this will be episode 20 next week. So we're
Crazy.
super excited. It's been 5 months
Awesome.
of doing the TRE live show. So love you guys, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for
What
watching.
happens now?
Yeah. You
This
guys
is
do
the
that.
awkward part
I don't know
where we
about
have to
this
end this. Yeah, that's right, because I'm always... All right. Stop all streaming.